There comes a time when intelligent people worship the intellect. This tendency is at its worst when they start worshipping their own intellect. Once they start worshipping their own intellect, they are on their way to conflict between them and those who are threatened by that intellect.
Good morning, guys. Good morning. Good morning once again. Welcome to South Africa Lately, a channel that discusses South African trending news. We do, however, grab here and there from international news when it is trending enough to be brought here. Please do understand that I'm not a politician. I do not have deep knowledge in politics. However, I am a South African citizen who's also a voter, and I do believe that my views count when it comes to political affairs of our super gorgeous country. I'm coming back to Floyd again. I just want to appreciate first his CV. Gosh, guys, that CV is powerful. Yeah, that CV is powerful. But then again, I just think he's messing that CV up by being in the front now. I think he operates better as the brains behind the scenes. But anyway, you are allowed to differ from my views. Kindly share yours in the comment section. I'm looking forward to reading those. If time allows me, I'm going to respond. But if it doesn't, I'm certainly going to react to show that I appreciate your participation in my channel. But back to Floyd. I just feel like that CV is too powerful. And I have a question. Has Floyd reached that dangerous stage that Gogo Mtshiqi spoke about, that it becomes worse when they start worshipping their own intellect? Because that's what it looks like now with Floyd. Yeah, he's coming out there. As much as it is said that he was doing many things within the EFF, as he says himself, as he there, talking about the things that he's done. You can tell the man has done a lot of things. But has he reached a stage whereby he's saying, I've been quiet for too long about my capabilities. I'm just going to be telling the world out there that I know what I'm capable of. Has he reached the stage that Gogo Mtshiqi has been talking about? Sorry, guys, has been talking about, because that's what it looks like to me. Please do share your own views. I'm going to share with you the video clip of Gogo Mtshiqi saying that, as well as the parts of the ENCA interview of Floyd Shivambu, when I felt like more guys coming out to say, you know what, I'm capable of a lot more. I was just being like playing it down, but I know what I'm capable of, and I'm going to tell the whole world that I know that I'm capable, and be worshipping that my intellect. Guys, I'll see you right at the end with my closing commentary.
There comes a time when intelligent people worship the intellect. This tendency is at its worst when they start worshipping their own intellect. Once they start worshipping their own intellect, they are on their way to conflict between them and those who are threatened by that intellect. This is what may or may not have happened to the EFF, to the relationship between Floyd and MALEMA. Now, managing that kind of relationship, as I said, requires a lot of maturity. A maturity that may not have always existed in this relationship. Now, the fact that certain gifts of leadership reside in Julius, not in Floyd, may not have meant that Floyd has no greater ambition. In other words, his ambitions are not limited to being a backroom guy who influences the content of policy and strategy. To your point about the personal in politics, I think we can safely say that at some point personality clashes, overtly or otherwise, do emerge between the two. And the EFF becomes too small for the two of them. And therefore one of them has to exit. Now, if I'm correct with some of these suppositions, Floyd is going to run into the same problem in the MK party. His intellect is going to be the source of conflict between him and others in the MK party. I remember listening to an interview between Tim Modise and Thabo Mbeki's mother. And the last question he asks Thabo Mbeki's mother is, what advice would you give to your son? And Mrs. Mbeki says, he must listen to others. He is not the only one who has ideas. Others have ideas too. I would give the same advice to Floyd Shivambu. Otherwise, his time in the in the MK party is not going to be a good time.
Good. So you would note that on the 3rd of June 2025, the national officials of MKHONTO WESIZWE, which I was Secretary General of until the 3rd of June, made an announcement that I will be redeployed from my role as a Secretary General and become a member of Parliament in the National Assembly. A decision which I publicly accepted and said that I respect the decision of the collective despite my individual misgivings about the redeployment, and also due to the fact that I've played my part in South Africa's legislative body. I've been a chief whip, I've been a member of the Standing Committee on Finance for 10 years, possibly one of the longest serving members of the Standing Committee on Finance. I've served in different bodies of parliament. I represented South Africa's parliament in the Pan-African Parliament for 4 years. I represented South Africa's parliament in the Inter-Parliamentary Union. I initiated legislation in parliament inclusive of the amendment of the South African Reserve Bank, the cancellation of student debt, and a variety of other legislations which politically I gave guidance to and led in the discussions in parliament. So I think in terms of my contributions to the legislative body, my work speaks for itself in terms of the tremendous work we have. We actually made even substantial policy submissions in terms of how do we stop tax avoidance and tax-based erosion in South Africa. So I thought
how did it get to misgivings, Mr. Shivambu? Because it's quite a track record. Get into what you're planning next, Mr. Shivambu, because you were the Secretary General, you established that. Then you were told you were going to go to Parliament for the MK Party, but now you're not going to Parliament for the MK Party.
Yes, I did.
What happened?
Yes, I did explain that part of the real reasons why my redeployment occurred was because of some fake and bizarre conspiracies and lies that were produced as part of the reasons why I had to be redeployed. And those conspiracies included an allegation, a very false and ridiculous allegation that I want to overthrow President Zuma.
And you don't.
So I did not. Who in their rational mind would think of overthrowing a president who is responsible for possibly 80% of the votes which MKHONTO WESIZWE received, and largely from the province that he came from?
So why would someone say that?
No, if anything, I don't know. You know, like, hey, scoundrels can be scoundrels and they can do as they wish. They can be foolish. There are a lot of foolish people who concoct all sorts of conspiracies around any issue, so they can do whatever they want. And what, of course, made me uncomfortable was the fact that part of the leadership believed such fake intelligence report, which, by the way, was a consistent attack since I joined MKHONTO WESIZWE.
Is that because you were doing such a good job that you were catching people out? I'm just trying to understand, why would someone target you?
Yeah, like, the fact of the matter is that politically, I was far much more qualitatively superior to all the people that I found in the leadership of MKHONTO WESIZWE. I added much more better value. I understood what is to be done with a new organization. I have practical experience on founding an organization. Not even President Zuma had founded an organization before. I founded an organization before which got to be represented in more than 230 municipalities in South Africa, was represented in all the provincial legislatures, and had huge impact in South Africa's national parliament and national council of provinces.
You mean the EFF?
Yes, yes. So that experience would obviously place me at a far much more qualitative, better value in terms of contributions.
So were they intimidated by you, I wonder?
That is part of that. There was some degree of paranoia and some people who thought that they are political heavyweights there felt dwarfed by our contributions, because some of the things that were misguiding President Zuma on, we would be able to counter much more decisively and then give proper, legitimate direction as to how the organization should be run.
President of the MK Party, Jacob Zuma, ever come to you and ask you directly if you are trying to overthrow him? Why was he listening to other people, not you? Who advised President Zuma of the MK Party?
There's never been a time where he directly came to me to say that I am going to overthrow him. But the report which was presented in the officials, which the meeting of officials that took that decision, that report came with him and it was given to him by the people I refer to as scoundrels. Do
you know who they are, by the way? I'm just curious.
It's different people there. That includes an imbecile, a fool called NHLAMULO, one of the foolish leaders of Umkhonto WESIZWE, who unfortunately represents the people there. He's always on drugs and always high on alcohol in terms of how he deals with issues. That is what we're dealing with every day. And he will even take pride that he is going to tell lies to President Zuma about him. And of course, he will use the otherwise very gullible and directionless daughter of President Zuma, who of course has got first front row access to President Zuma by virtue of being the daughter.
If you watched up to here, I'd like to say thank you for watching my videos, and the next time you bump into my videos, kindly watch my ads in full, as that support really goes a long way. And to those who are already watching my ads in full, ndithi enkosini kakhulu guys, ndiyabulela nibamba ngazo zozibini, ningadinwa nangomso, nibe nimini emnandi kakhulu.